There is a town in New Mexico where the residents won't visit the mountain after sunset, not because of the dark, but because of what lives in it. This isn't just a base, it's a 7-level subterranean nightmare. It all started in the late 70s with a man named Paul Benowitz. He was a high-level electronics genius who started intercepting radio signals that shouldn't exist. They weren't coming from space. They were coming from underground. Benowitz tracked these low-frequency pulses directly to the mesa. He claimed he had uncovered a joint operation, a deal, between the U.S. government and the species of non-human entities. But as he dug deeper, his life began to unravel. As his reports began to gain traction in the UFO community, Benowitz claimed to have begun receiving threatening visits from people claiming to be government agents. He stated they wanted him to stop talking about what he had discovered. He saw lights, unbelievable high-speed crafts, entering and exiting the mountain through invisible hangar doors. The locals, they knew. Cattle mutilations in Dulce weren't just predators. They were surgical. Lasers, blood drained with precision that no coyote possesses. Benowitz eventually suffered a total mental breakdown, claiming the Greys were beaming thoughts into his head. Was he crazy, or did he just see the blueprint for the end of humanity? History says nothing happened at Dulce Base, but the scars on Phil Schneider's body told a different story. In 1979, the U.S. military didn't just stumble upon a secret, they breached the gates of hell. 2 miles beneath the New Mexico desert, a shadow war erupted that was never meant to reach the surface. This wasn't a skirmish, it was a slaughter for the soul of humanity. Phil Schneider was one of the deep state's premier engineers of clandestine bases. In the blistering summer of '79, he was at ground zero of the Dulce base, overseeing black-budget boring machines that were clawing into the Earth's ancient crust. Suddenly, the diamond-tipped drills hit a wall they couldn't break, a barrier of impossible density. Schneider was lowered into the blackness. The air didn't just get cold, it turned rancid. It was the rotting breath of hell, a sickening cocktail of sulfur, ozone, and decomposing organic matter. When they finally punctured the cavern wall, the darkness didn't just dissipate, it blinked. Standing in the gloom were nightmares made flesh, 7-foot-tall alien horrors with obsidian eyes that drink the light. Phil didn't hesitate. He reached for his Walther PPK, but human ballistics were a joke against alien tech. One entity moved with sickening fluidity, drawing his weapon. A screaming bolt of cobalt energy tore through the air. It didn't just burn Phil. It de-atomized his fingers and microwaved his internal organs instantly. The cavern floor turned into a cosmic meat grinder. Blue plasma clashed with the desperate rhythmic thunder of M16s. In a final act of heroism, a Green Beret grabbed the mutilated Schneider, threw him into the lift, and slammed the ascent button. That soldier, and 65 other elite operators, never saw the sun again. They were liquidated in a matter of heartbeats. For 17 years, Phil displayed his mangled hand and his scarred, sunken chest like a gruesome trophy of a war that never happened. He shouted his truth until 1996, when the silence finally caught up to him. He was found in his apartment with a rubber catheter wrapped 3 times around his neck. The official verdict? He ended himself. The reality? A message was sent to anyone else who would dare to look down. If Dulce is a myth, why does the desert still hum with the sound of 1,000 generators? And what are they feeding in the biological vats of Level 7? In Dulce Base, Level 7 is the darkest ring of hell. Welcome to Nightmare Hall. According to Thomas Costello, a former security officer at the Dulce facility, the deeper you go, the less human the base becomes. Levels 1 through 4 are mostly human-run, offices, labs, and housing. Level 5 is where the joint research begins. But levels 6 and 7, that's where your sanity breaks. Costello called level 6 the multi-level. It's where the crossbreeding experiments happen. He reported seeing multi-legged humans, creatures that looked like half man, half octopus, and beings with alien features. It was a biological house of horrors. But Level 7 is the heart of darkness. This is where thousands of humans, abductees, missing persons, are kept in cold storage. Costello claimed he saw row after row of humans in liquid-filled vats. Some were screaming for help in their sleep. Others were being used as biological vessels for alien entities. He said the Greys and the reptilians don't just study us, they fed on us. Not just our bodies, but our biospheric energy. When Costello saw a girl he recognized from a missing persons poster back home, he knew he had to get out. He stole the Dulce papers and a security video, and then he vanished. The stolen video has never been released to the public, but this one frame did get out. Some say the government still hunts for the tapes. More likely, however, is that they destroyed it long ago. The most chilling secret of Dulce isn't the monsters in the dark. It's the men who invited them in. In 1954, the United States didn't just sign a treaty. They sold the species. We traded our children for microchips. Betrayal began at Holloman Air Force Base. Under a shroud of absolute secrecy, President Eisenhower reportedly met with an alien ambassador. It was called the Greada Treaty. The terms were cold, calculated, and demonic. The U.S. military would receive the keys to the kingdom, fiber optics, stealth tech, and gravity-defying propulsion. The price? Human livestock. The government gave these entities permission to abduct American citizens for biological research. We traded our neighbors, our brothers, and our daughters for a technological edge. By the late 1960s, the horrific reality had set in. The limited list were a farce. The entities weren't just taking a few. They were harvesting thousands. They weren't guessed. They were an occupying force that had built a permanent subterranean slaughterhouse beneath the Archuleta Mesa. When the military finally tried to push back, they realized the terrifying truth. The technology we traded for was already obsolete. We had sold our souls for trinkets, traded our future for the empty promises of a colonial empire. Our weapons were as effective as sticks against jet fighters. We didn't just invite a predator into our home. We built them a cage and volunteered to step inside. Dulce became the ultimate compromise, a site of ongoing human experimentation where the U.S. government acts as the silent security guard. We watch the lights in the desert and look the other way while our own people are dragged into the abyss, all to maintain the lie of national security. Over 600,000 people go missing in the U.S. every single year. The government says they just disappeared, but if you listen closely to the vents at the Archuleta Mesa, you might hear where they went.